Hey, Lions Nation! We're back with another exclusive video bringing you all the latest news about our beloved Detroit Lions. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss anything about the team now. Let's get into the news. The first warning came long before anyone outside the Detroit Lions facility realized something was wrong, a subtle tremor that echoed through practices, meetings, and late-night film sessions as though the organization itself sensed an approaching collapse. Campbell had always been the emotional core of the franchise, raw, intense, unapologetically honest, yet over the past month his energy had taken on a strange, volatile edge. The kind of controlled fury that made assistants exchange nervous glances, and players whisper to each other when they thought no one was listening. At first, people assumed it was the pressure of expectations, the weight of a city desperate for a breakthrough season, but deep inside the locker room, buried beneath layers of bravado and carefully curated press conferences, there was a secret tearing the team apart, a conflict between Campbell and a star player whose name the organization refused to speak publicly, as if doing so might unleash something even darker. The first explosion happened behind closed doors during a routine offensive install meeting, where witnesses later claimed the tension snapped like a steel cable under too much strain. The player arrived late, unapologetic, tossing his playbook on the table with a smirk that cut deeper than any insult. And when Campbell questioned his commitment, he laughed, not a nervous laugh, not a joke misunderstood, but a deliberate, mocking laugh that echoed off the walls and shattered the fragile sense of unity the Lions had fought to build. Campbell rose from his chair so slowly that some assistants mistook it for calm. But the players, those who had survived the early rebuilding years under his leadership, recognized something far more dangerous. The moment the emotional levee breaks, his voice didn't boom at first. It cracked, quiet and broken, as he asked the player if he believed he was above the team, above the system, above the standard they had spilled blood, sweat, and tears to protect. The player's shrug was the final match. What happened next became locker room legend. Campbell slammed his fist onto the table, hard enough to rattle water bottles, sending papers flying as he barked that he was done, that he wouldn't tolerate insubordination from anyone, not even a superstar. His words pierced the silence with a brutal clarity. "He's out. I don't want him on my field. Not now, not ever again." Gasps filled the room, and even the player's smug expression faltered as the reality of the moment set in. Assistants froze, unable to move, unwilling to breathe, fearful that even blinking might ignite another explosion. What followed was a storm of emotion. Campbell pacing, fists clenched, jaw tight, speaking about loyalty, sacrifice, and the corrosive power of ego. By the time he stormed out of the room, the entire offense sat in stunned silence, staring at the empty doorway where Detroit's most beloved leader had vanished like a man consumed by shadows. In the hours that followed, rumors spread like wildfire that Campbell had thrown his headset across his office, that he had ripped a team photo off the wall, that he had told the GM he would rather forfeit the season than let one player poison the foundation he had spent years building. And yet, the darkest stories came from those who had seen Campbell in the hallway afterward, walking alone, shoulders slumped, eyes distant, as though the outburst had drained something vital from him and replaced it with a cold, unforgiving resolve. Staffers whispered that the locker room felt different now, as if an invisible crack had formed in the concrete, running beneath the walls and splintering the team's identity. Outsiders had no idea. They saw only highlight reels, interviews, and training camp clips that masked the storm. But inside, where the truth festered like a wound, everyone knew something irreversible had been set in motion. A line had been drawn, a relationship shattered, and a decision made with such brutal finality that players couldn't sleep, fearing what would come next. When Campbell's anger solidified into action, and for Detroit, a franchise long accustomed to heartbreak but unprepared for chaos of this magnitude, the eruption marked the beginning of a new, dangerous chapter, one built not on unity but on the echo of 6 words that would haunt the organization forever. He's out. He's out of the Lions. Before we move on, take a second to drop a like and subscribe. That way, you'll stay up to date with every exclusive Lions update, and you'll even have a chance to win an official Detroit Lions jersey. Let's keep going. In the 48 hours that followed Campbell's volcanic declaration, the Lions facility transformed from a training center into a pressure cooker, each hallway buzzing with whispers, each closed-door meeting intensifying the sense that the franchise was teetering on the brink of something catastrophic. Players walked on eggshells, terrified of being associated with either side of the conflict, pretending to focus on playbooks, while secretly replaying the moment Campbell snapped, wondering whether his rage was a temporary eruption or the beginning of a purge that would reshape the team's very soul. Coordinators stayed late into the night, arguing in hoarse voices about damage control, trade possibilities, and how the city of Detroit would react if they lost a superstar under mysterious circumstances. Yet through all the frantic strategizing, one unshakable truth hovered above them like a storm cloud. Campbell wasn't backing down. Not this time, not with this player. Those who passed his office claimed they saw him sitting alone in the dark, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor as though searching for answers in the pattern of the carpet. One assistant swore she heard him say, almost to himself, "I won't let one man destroy what we built." It wasn't anger anymore, at least not the explosive, physical kind. What filled him now was colder, heavier, more dangerous conviction. And when the player in question arrived the next morning, strutting through the facility with headphones on and a grin that dared anyone to confront him, the air shifted again. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Weight plates clanged to the floor. Even the rookies felt it, a suffocating tension that wrapped around the building like invisible chains. The player tried to enter the offensive meeting room, but Campbell was already there, arms crossed, eyes burning with a fury that froze the entire staff in place. Witnesses claimed the moment felt supernatural, as if the walls themselves had drawn closer to hear what would happen. The player smirked, asked if he was being benched for one bad day, but Campbell didn't respond immediately. Instead, he stepped closer until their faces were inches apart, and in a voice so low it forced everyone in the room to lean forward, he repeated the sentence that had already haunted the facility: "You're out of the Lions." The player laughed, expecting negotiation, but Campbell didn't flinch. He turned to the GM, who had been silently observing from the back of the room, and announced that effective immediately, the player was removed from all team activities. Shockwaves erupted instantly. Some players felt vindicated, relieved that Campbell had finally confronted the chaos head-on. Others panicked, realizing how fragile their team's stability truly was, how quickly a season filled with hope could spiral into infighting and distrust. The media sensed something was wrong within minutes. Gathering outside the facility like vultures circling a wounded animal, reporters shouted questions, analysts speculated wildly, and social media exploded with theories ranging from catastrophic injuries to secret suspensions to explosive locker room fights. But inside the facility, where the truth was darker and more complicated than anyone would dare imagine, the Lions confronted the brutal reality that their season might now be defined not by touchdowns or defensive stands, but by the aftermath of a war between their fearless leader and a superstar whose arrogance had ignited a fuse no one could extinguish. Practice ended early that day. Helmets hung untouched in lockers. Veteran players huddled in corners, debating whether Campbell's hardline decision would inspire the team or fracture it irrevocably. And somewhere deep inside the building, Campbell sat alone again, staring at his reflection in a dark window, knowing that everything he said would echo far beyond that moment. He had chosen principle over talent, unity over stardom, loyalty over headlines. But he also knew that the world would twist his decision, that the narrative would spiral out of his control, that Detroit fans would demand answers he wasn't ready to give. Yet he didn't waver, because when he declared, "He's out of the Lions," Dan Campbell wasn't merely expelling a player, he was drawing a line carved in steel, sending a message that would reverberate through the league, that nobody, no matter how gifted, could sabotage the heart of a team built on grit, sacrifice, and brothers willing to bleed for each other. And as the sun set over the practice field, casting long shadows across the turf, the Lions realized something chilling. A storm had begun. A storm that would reshape their future, test their unity, and force every man in the building to choose a side. And in Detroit, no storm ever passes quietly. We bring you the latest Lions news every single day, so make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. And of course, drop a comment below with your thoughts on today's news. Your voice makes a difference for Lions Nation. See you in the next video.